Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to welcome you to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Daily Recap, where we give you a recap of all of the hot topics that we covered that day. You can catch them in their long format and also catch it fully streaming for free on Apple Podcasts. Yesterday on ESPN, was it yesterday? Yes, I believe it was yesterday on ESPN. They had a few interesting things. They had JJ Redick and Shannon Sharpe kind of getting into it. But then there was a segment on the show where they were talking about the top 5 players that are most deserving of a statue. What brought this conversation on? As you guys are aware, the Lakers just made it. They just basically debuted Kobe Bryant's new statue, and it turns out Kobe's going to end up having 3 statues. One, the one that you saw, the one with him and his daughter, his late daughter, and the last one is going to be with himself, I believe, in the jersey number 24. So we have that, and of course it's going to bring conversation. Okay, well, who deserves one? Who deserves one? Who deserves one? I recently listened to Shannon Sharpe on Nightcap talking to Gilbert Arenas, asking, does LeBron deserve it? I don't want to believe Shannon Sharpe is even serious, but he probably is. That's why I don't take Shannon Sharpe is good on a lot of topics, but these LeBron topics, man, he'd be losing me. But he said that. So anyway, Stephen A. Smith was unveiling his top 5 players that deserve a statue. One of them, I believe, was Giannis Antetokounmpo, LeBron James, in Cleveland and Miami, Stephen Curry. So those are 4. But then he brought out the 5th group, which was ranked number 4 of players that deserve a statue. And when he went out there and said these players, he absolutely floored JJ Redick and Shannon Sharpe because of how ridiculous his take was. So for those of you who didn't hear what Stephen A. Smith had to say, I want to play for you now and then come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to what he had to say here.
Give it to me. Bam! That's the one right there, JJ! That's the one right there! 4-time champions. 6 NBA Finals appearances. You understand? There is no denying that no matter how great Steph Curry is, you can't have a statue and, excuse me, it's just Steph. You looking at Clay and Draymond. They both deserve one. If the Lakers could have 8 different statues outside of Crypto.com Arena and one of them was for Oscar De La Hoya, I'm sure you can justify this. All right? 1, 2, 3. With LeBron in Cleveland, LeBron in Miami, and Giannis in Milwaukee. That's my list of the top 5 current players who deserve a statue.
I mean, Stephen.
Shannon, go ahead, man.
Go ahead.
Shannon, please start.
Christine, you want to ask the audience to vote
what the grade is?
Because that's some bullshit.
We don't have an audience, though. It's just you guys.
Okay,
that's a bull job. Okay. What you talking about?
Yeah, some bull job. Let me finish. Okay, I got most guys. You say most guys deserving of a statue. I got LeBron, Steph Curry, Giannis and Jokic, KD and Kawhi. That's my list.
KD and Kawhi. No, I'm going to disagree with that, but I'll let JJ go first. Go ahead.
If I'm not mistaken, I think he just listed the 6 current players that have been Finals MVPs.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, all right. The fact that Nikola Jokic
and hold on, LeBron is the regular season MVP. So is Steph. So is Giannis. So is Jokic. So is KD. Kawhi is a Finals MVP, a 2-time and a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. But go ahead.
Go ahead.
The fact that Jokic is not on this list, I'm going to have to give you a failing grade. I have no issue. I have no issue if the Warriors want to build a statue for Clay and Draymond too.
Okay.
I have no issue with that.
Okay.
Denver had never won a championship, period.
I agree.
In the franchise history.
That's right.
Nikola Jokic is the best player in that franchise's history.
No question.
How is he not on this list?
Because.
How is he not on this list?
Excuse me. You could say he should be on the list, but I don't think he goes on the list ahead of the 4 titles here. The title here in Cleveland, you're erasing a curse.
Who would you take off
the 2 titles here and 4 straight trips to the NBA Finals and 4 championships. I mean, you can't separate Clay and Dre with Steph. You can't do it. You can't do it. By the way, listen, I appreciate what KD brings to the table. 2-time NBA Finals MVP. I get all of that. But you, again, this is where you're in Oklahoma City and you can't close on a 3-1 lead in a Game 7. You lose in that conference finals, and then you go to the team that beat you immediately after. I can't give them a statue in Golden State. I can't give them a statue in OKC. And that's what we're talking about, Shannon. We're talking about location. I get you all.
You didn't say that.
No. What I mean is, no, I'm saying a statue for the team, the franchise, what you mean to that franchise, what LeBron means to Cleveland and the Heat. Oh, that's not the Lakers.
So you heard the exchange. Stephen A. Smith said that Klay Thompson and Draymond Green deserve a statue ahead of Kevin Durant. What are we doing? What are we doing? What exactly are we doing? I can understand if you say Steph deserves a statue. He absolutely does. He has 4 championships with that organization, and he was a final MVP, and he's the biggest star in that for that team. No one is going to argue there with you. But to say Klay Thompson and Draymond Green deserve statues before Kevin Durant? Are we talking about the same Kevin Durant that went to Golden State and was clearly the best player on the floor? Are we talking about that Kevin Durant? We're in back-to-back finals against the Cleveland Cavaliers. He was clearly the difference. He was the one that just took over that entire series. Are we talking about that Kevin Durant? Forget about what Kevin Durant has done over the course of his career. Let's talk about what he did as a Warrior. Kevin Durant won 2 championships as a Warrior, 2 Finals MVPs as a Warrior. He was a 2-time All-Star as a Warrior. He made the he was an All-Star game. No, he didn't make the All-Star game. He made the All-First NBA team as a Warrior. He what is it? Okay, he led the league in scoring after that. He also, let me see, and in the playoffs as a Warrior, both of those during those finals runs, what did Kevin Durant average? He averaged in the first run in 15 games, 28-5, 1.3 blocks, 0.8 steals, 4.3 assists, 7.9 rebounds on 89% from the free throw line, 44.2% from the 3, 55.6% from the field. The next season he averages 29 points per game in the playoffs, 1.2 blocks per game, 0.7 in steals, 4.7 assists, 7.8 rebounds, 90% shooting from the free throw line. 34% shooting from the 3, and 48.7% shooting from the floor, and he wins 2 back-to-back Finals MVPs. And the second Finals MVP, he was actually trying to give it up so Stephen Curry would win, and they still gave it to KD. And you're telling me Klay Thompson and Draymond Green deserve a championship over Kevin Durant? What are we doing? What are we doing? There's no way the Warriors are a dynasty without Kevin Durant. You cannot be a dynasty and win 2 championships. That doesn't make you a dynasty. You got to have at least 3. And they had 4. And Kevin Durant was a big reason they have 2 of them. So if Steph deserves a ring, which he does, a statue, which he does, you're going to give a statue before? You're going to give a statue to Draymond Green and Klay Thompson over Kevin freaking Durant? Really? Did the premium that Draymond and Klay give you, was it greater than the premium that KD gave you? What are we talking about? Bro, that was a wild take. Yesterday, I came across a clip from Paul George's podcast, Podcast P. And it's a very good podcast. He has great interviews, very measured. They're not out there trying to clickbait people and say crazy stuff or whatever it is. Just a solid podcast. And they usually talk about things sometimes that are trending within the sports world as it pertains to the NBA. And one of the biggest conversations surrounding the league as of late has been the conversation around defense. As you guys know, Joe Dumars basically put out a statement via the NBA and said, listen, we understand that the game has been shifted too much toward the offensive side of things, and we're looking for ways or exploring ways on how they can establish a better balance on both sides of the ball, because clearly the game is skewed a little bit too much towards offense. I think that was a very, very astute observation by Joe Dumars in the NBA, because a lot of fans have been complaining about it. Now, there's some people that like it, but the vast majority are like, listen, this is ridiculous. Like, yes, I want to see great offense and all of that, but I also want to see great defense, and I want to see a little bit of resistance, right? Some people think that games around, like, you know, let's say between 90 to 100 is a bad game. I don't think so. I think that's when you figure out who's who and what's what. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. The great Piston NBA legend Isaiah Thomas said this. He gave he explained the difference between a dominant 30 and a 30 that's not dominant. He's like, if you score 30 points and your team ends up scoring 125 30 points, he's like, that's not a dominant 30. He said, but if your team scores 100 points and you contribute 30 points to that 100 points, he said that is a dominant 30. And today, I think these numbers are so inflated that we don't really realize who's actually good and who's not. So what happened? I was listening to Paul George's podcast yesterday, and I think it was Jackie Long that posed the question. He was like, Paul, when do you think the moment occurred when this change started to take place? When was that? And when Paul George began to answer, he actually gave two answers. The first answer, he said, was it happened when LeBron decided to join the Miami Heat. He then explained his position further, and then he kind of backed off. And what I think both explanations that he gave is true, but I really believe it was LeBron's one. I think the LeBron going to Miami also played a role. So for those of you guys who didn't hear what Paul George had to say, I want to play it for you now and then come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to what Paul George had to say here.
Pete, you was talking about at first it was too much defense in the league or whatever. Now I want to switch it. When did it become when it was just too much offense being played on the court?
Honestly, I want to say when like, and it's not necessarily that moment that Bron decided to go to Miami, but I think it was the ripple or the domino effect of it to match up and compete with a team that offensively potent. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think it was like a little bit around that area because like that's when like you had to like that's when it became all right, like guys are teaming up, stars are aligning, stars want to play on the same team. And then so that's just when teams just start stacking up offensively. You know what I mean? Like that's where, and then you got so many guys that are, you look at, but then I take that back. It was more so when like the Rockets with James Harden and the spread offense. I think that was the pivotal moment where it was offensive explosion. You got your best player you played through. You put 4 shooters around him, and you play fast. You get up and down the court. You pick and roll. See if the defense, how the defense reacts, and then you play from there. And you look at all the teams. You look at why the Pacers are so good because they got a point guard they play through with 4 shooters around them, and they play fast. You look at why the Mavericks put up so many points. You got Luka at the point. 4 shooters around him or 3 shooters with a rolling big, puts pressure on the team. You look at why the Hawks put up so many points. You got Trae Young, put shooters on. So it was like a blueprint. I think now that teams play through your star, you put shooters around them. And so I kind of think it was, that the explosion with Mike D'Antoni, that Houston Rockets team, that kind of like I think changed the landscape a little bit.
So you heard the explanation that Paul George put forward. What are my thoughts on this? I think that what Paul George said was true in terms of there being this arms race for offense when LeBron joined Dwayne Wade. Some people say that's not true, and I'll tell you exactly why that's true. LeBron at the time was a 27-point per game scorer at the time before he joined D Wade. The year before he joined D Wade, Dwayne Wade led the league in scoring. So you have a guy averaging 27 a game. You have a guy that just led the league in scoring, and then you're bringing in a 20 and 10 guy and Chris Bosh. They were the most potent offense in the NBA for being honest, and they attacked you from various in various ways, right? So that Miami offense was very, very dynamic, and I remember how hard it was to beat that team, even though they collapsed in the NBA Finals in 2011. Now, the other point he brought up about Mike D'Antoni, the reason I'm not going to side with Paul George on that when that 3 seconds of left offense was because it never worked with Steve Nash, nor did it work with James Harden, right? The NBA is a copycat league, so they generally copy other teams that have established a formula that is successful. At one point, it was common practice to have 2 7-footers in your starting lineup. You saw that with the San Antonio Spurs, with Tim Duncan and David Robinson. You saw that with with the Boston Celtics with Kendrick Perkins. I think Kendrick Perkins may be 6'11", if I'm not mistaken, and Kevin Garnett. You saw that with the Lakers with Pau Gasol and Andrew Bynum. And so many other teams are trying to adopt that philosophy. Then what happened? Stephen Curry and the Warriors came in and changed the thing as well. And that's when teams like the Houston Rockets actually started to mimic them. And a lot of other teams mimicked them. So if we're pointing to the point where defense really got shattered was, number one, when the offensive era kind of took place. He mentioned the first one. The second one, I believe, he said about the Mike D'Antoni. I don't really believe that because no team was really doing what they were doing. I think it was with the Stephen Curry guys. When it became everybody on your team had to be able to shoot threes. And I think those are the moments that have contributed to the lack of defense that we see today. And I think what has happened is they have gone too far into the deep end of the pool doing that. And I think it is really ruining the game of basketball because there's no balance. And as Paul George said, it's just basically 3-point shots and layups. They have totally gotten rid of mid-range shooting in the NBA, which I don't believe is a good thing. But, you know, for whatever reason, Commissioner Adam Silver wants it to be this way, and he's one of the biggest proponents of it. So I don't want to believe that there are people out there that really listen to the takes that Nick Wright gives about this whole Jordan GOAT debate and sit back and say to themselves, man, Nick is making some very good points. I don't want to believe that. I don't see the 90% of the points that Nick Wright makes when it comes to this Michael Jordan conversation is a joke. A good 90% of them. The issue with this conversation is the following. Because it's not close, whenever we have this debate, we reach for all of these what ifs and if this happened and if that. You always have to use these ridiculous arguments to try to make this thing a case. And that is exactly what Nick Wright did. What am I referring to? Yesterday, he published a show on his channel. And I think it was Shannon Sharpe that went on ESPN First Take and put up this picture of Michael Jordan when he was not a Chicago Bull, when he was a Washington Wizard. And I think they stopped the game to give him the 30,000 points scored or whatever it is mark. And they stopped the game to congratulate him. Shannon brought up that point. JJ Redick and Stephen A. Smith were like, bro, who cares? Like, what kind of point is this? Nick Wright got a hold of that point, and he thought that, oh man, you see, now I got some. That's what these guys are horrendous debaters. Do you know why? Because 100% of the arguments that they make is not rooted in logic. It is rooted in nothing but pure emotion. Because anybody with a logical molecule in their body will listen to what these guys say and say that these guys have absolutely zero ability to reason properly. These guys cannot reason properly. I am 100% convinced of this. When you listen to the arguments that they put forward every single day. Nick Wright is having this conversation. He brings up the Jordan picture. Oh, you see, it was a big deal for Jordan, but when LeBron does it, it's not a big deal. And I'm sitting here saying to myself, were they not considering Michael Jordan the greatest player of all time before he got back to the Wizards? So why are you bringing up this idiotic ass point, Nick Wright? As a matter of fact, for those of you who didn't even hear what Nick said, I want you guys to sit down and listen to the sheer lunacy that came out of this man's mouth yesterday. Take a listen to some of this nonsense that Nick Wright had to say. Take a listen to that.
Michael Jordan got it was flying around Twitter yesterday, a trophy this big, about the size of the Larry O'Brien trophy, for getting to 30,000 points. When he got there, Karl Malone was already there, Wilt was already there, Kareem was already there. A stop the game, take the trophy moment for 30,000. LeBron gets to 40. And people are like, oh, or you're not seriously going to make this part of the GOAT debate, are you? Well, it's part of it. But so Brew on the show yesterday said, listen, we don't do GOATs by longevity. We do GOATs by peak. And I actually disagree. I think it is a tapestry. I think it is all of the above to a degree. I think that a lot of people would argue Randy Moss had a higher peak than Jerry Rice. But it was close, their two peaks, and Rice's longevity is so demonstrably better, he's universally regarded as the GOAT wide receiver. So I think it's all of the above is how we do it. But when we say, okay, let's talk peaks, and this is where the Jordan folks, in my opinion, are dishonest. What is peak? Are we talking one season? Because there is no single season Michael Jordan ever had better than LeBron James's 2013 season. It doesn't exist. In 2013 for LeBron James, he was the league MVP. He was the finals MVP. He had a damn near perfect game 6 of the finals down 3-2, and then a perfect game 7 of the finals, 37-12, and the game-winning jump shot over Kawhi Leonard. And, oh yeah, by the way, during that year, they had a 27-game winning streak, and he was 3 votes away from winning Defensive Player of the Year. Find the Jordan season that matches that. You can't. People are like, oh, but Michael Jordan won MVP and Defensive Player of the Year in the same year. He did. In a year, he did not even make it to the finals, let alone win the championship. So when are we talking Jordan's peak? Are we talking 1 year? Then LeBron's peak was higher. Are we talking 2 years? Well, then it's going to be an argument, because LeBron James in 12 and 13, when 1 year he damn near shot 60% from the field, won back-to-back league MVPs, back-to-back finals MVPs, beat 2 all-time teams in those NBA finals with 7 Hall of Famers on those teams between them. I don't know, seems pretty good. Now, does that match up to Jordan's 2-year peak? They're at least equivalent. Jordan 92-93 with a couple league. Well, actually, that was only 1 league MVP. Now I think of it, because Barkley won it in 93. Jordan probably should have 2 finals MVPs. They're at least close. 3-year peak, that goes to Jordan. LeBron never won 3 MVPs in a row. Jordan didn't either. But LeBron never won 3 titles in a row. Jordan did. 4-year peak? Now it tilts back to LeBron James. Well, wait, what do you mean, Nick? Well, 4 years. What 4 years are we talking about? Nick, you mean you're holding against Michael Jordan when he didn't play? Yes. I'm not holding against it. But it is, and this is where I say people are dishonest. People will then say that you are being dishonest if you count years in the order in which they happened on the calendar. They're like, oh, that is crazy. You're going to count 1994? It's like, well, it wasn't mythical. It existed.
Did you guys hear the amount of rubbish that just came out of Nick Wright's mouth? Did you just hear the amount of absolute rubbish that came out of Nick Wright's mouth? All of what Nick Wright just said was absolutely irrelevant. He makes terrible arguments. Terrible. And it was full of lies. Almost all of what he said, he was lying. Almost all of it. And we produced a show about it today that you're probably going to check out. All of it he produced. He said a bunch of lies up there. Because Nick Wright, I don't know, maybe because he has a big beard and he wears suits on TV. For whatever reason, people take him seriously. Maybe that's what I got to do. Maybe I got to grow a bigger beard and start putting on suits. And maybe people start taking me seriously. Nothing of what Nick Wright says with this Jordan debate is serious. Nobody, you cannot take Nick Wright seriously. That's the reason why whenever him and Chris Broussard have these debates, Chris usually wipes the floor with him. It's easy work. Nick Wright said it's close. It's not close. His whole argument is based on what ifs. Nick, if they ask him who's better between, he can't say, if I ask him, okay, if you ask Nick Wright who's better between LeBron and Kevin Durant, he can tell you plainly. But if you ask him who's better between LeBron and Jordan, he has to take us through this long process. Take us over there, take us over there. He had, in that year, he was 3 votes away from defensive. He didn't win. Why are you bringing that up? Why would you bring that up as a point? He said it like as if, you see, he almost did it, but he didn't. But he says it like it's a credit. Like it's a credit. That's how he presents. This guy is, when it comes to coming up with arguments and sound points, Nick Wright is absolutely lousy at it. And I know why he comes up with these bad arguments, because he is forced to. Nick Wright is represented by Clutch Sports. He is. So he has to come out there and basically keep promoting this nonsense and propagating it out here and basically polluting the airways with this nonsense. It makes no sense what he said. Absolutely nothing from beginning to end. None of what Nick Wright just said made absolutely no sense. And all of it was full of lies that we're going to expose today. So what I want to know from you guys, what do you think about this nonsense that Nick Wright just spewed all over the table talking about, oh, if, you know, he scored 30. It's like, Nick, we already said Jordan was a GOAT before then. So why are you bringing up this point? Why are you bringing it up? He's like, it's a big deal. No one really cared. Do you know why no one really cares about when Jordan scored 30? Because nobody talks about it. This thing about who scored the most points only became something big because your guy did it. So now all of a sudden you want it to mean something. Was it? It never mattered for anybody else. So why should it matter now? This is the topic I've waited all day to produce. Now, I don't know which order is going to come out today, but this is the one I decided to do last because I wanted to take all of my time and just really get into the meat and potatoes of this show. Some people crack up when I say meat and potatoes, but let's get down to the nitty gritty of this. Yesterday, Nick Wright went on his campaign to talk about some damn, oh, is the argument close between Michael Jordan? And I'm like, God, you're like, man, this is like a toilet that just won't flush with these guys. It's like a toilet that refuses to flush. You ever try to kill a mosquito in your house? You think you kill him. 5 minutes later, he's flying. He goes, eh. Then you think you hit him again. You end up slapping yourself. And you're like, I got him now. 10 minutes later, he's still. This is what this conversation is, man. We just cannot get rid of these dudes. They just won't let it go. And we got to sit down and listen to one nonsensical argument after the next as they sit up there and twerk it up all over the table, knocking over drinks, busting out the honey, slapping each other with it, throwing ones at each other. This is what these dudes do. This is what, just gyrating all over the floor, trying to pull you by your wrist. Hey, yo, come on, let's twerk. Ain't nobody twerking with you dudes. Ain't nobody interested in twerking with you dudes. Let me get into this nonsense here. So Nick Wright went on his show yesterday to, I'm talking about, what is it? The Nick Wright podcast that unfortunately I clicked on to listen to, which I do not listen to. So he's on his podcast and he does a show called It's Time for a Clear Conversation About LeBron James versus Michael Jordan. And by clear conversation, what Nick Wright is referring to is basically one long capathon where he's just going to sit up there, cap it up all over the place, twerk all over the screen for LeBron James while he lies straight through his teeth just for these LeBron fans to be. So whenever they hear LeBron, their titties start tingling all over the place because they got excited. So before we go any further, I want to quickly play this nonsense that Nick Wright, it's only about a minute or so. So I don't know, man. Maybe y'all need to just put on your seatbelts because I don't know how much of this y'all can tolerate. But we want to quickly play it for you guys, and then we're going to really get into this roast today. Take a listen to what Nick Wright had to say yesterday with his lying ass. Take a listen to this.
But when we say, okay, let's talk peaks, and this is where the Jordan folks, in my opinion, are dishonest. What is peak? Are we talking one season? Because there is no single season Michael Jordan ever had better than LeBron James's 2013 season. It doesn't exist. In 2013 for LeBron James, he was the league MVP. He was the finals MVP. He had a damn near perfect game 6 of the finals down 3-2, and then a perfect game 7 of the finals, 37-12, and the game-winning jump shot over Kawhi Leonard. And, oh yeah, by the way, during that year, they had a 27-game winning streak, and he was 3 votes away from winning Defensive Player of the Year. Find the Jordan season that matches that. You can't. People are like, oh, but Michael Jordan won MVP and Defensive Player of the Year in the same year. He did. In a year, he did not even make it to the finals, let alone win the championship. So when are we talking Jordan's peak? Are we talking 1 year? Then LeBron's peak was higher.
So you heard what that damn Nick Wright had to say. Let me break down the lies for you guys. Nick Wright, and what he just said the following. Bring up the season that Michael Jordan had that is better than LeBron James's 2013 season. And name the season that you could look at LeBron, Jordan's season that year and say, man, he was much better than LeBron. So I did Nick a favor. I didn't bring up one season. I brought up 4 seasons. Since you asked for 1, I gave you 4. And you can argue against those 4. But let's quickly go look at the 2013 season that Nick Wright is over there twerking it up all over the place for LeBron. What did LeBron do in 2013? LeBron that year won the finals MVP, the championship. He won the regular season MVP. He made the All-Star game. He was all first NBA. What else did he do that year? He made the second defensive team. And that's what he did. Let's look at his numbers that year. 2013, LeBron averaged he played 76 games. He scored 26.8 points per game. On 0.9 blocks, 1.7 steals, 7.3 assists, 8 rebounds, 75% from the free throw line, 40% from the 3, and 56.5% from, what do you call it? Yeah, 56.5% from the field. So that's what LeBron did, right? Spectacular season. All-time great season, right? One of the greatest seasons ever. Absolutely. So I said, let's go through 4 seasons of MJ. And let's start with the year. Let's go 1996. 1996, what did MJ do? He won the championship. He won the finals MVP. He won the regular season MVP. He made the All-Star game. He won the All-Star game MVP. He made the all-first NBA team. He made the all-first defensive team. And he led the league in scoring that year. That's one season, 1998. Let's go to the next season. Yeah, that was 1998. Let's go to 1996. Oh, by the way, let's go through Jordan's numbers that year. I'm sorry. That year, 1998, Jordan scored 28.7 points per game, 5.5 in blocks, 1.7 steals, 3.5 assists, 5.8 rebounds, 78% from the free throw line, 23.8% from the 3, and 46.5% from the field. Now, let's go, and for those of you talking, he didn't shoot a lot of threes, the Chicago Bulls as a team was averaging 14 threes a game that year. That's 1998. Let's go to 1996. What did MJ do in 1996? 1996, he won the championship. 1996, he won the finals MVP. 1996, he won the regular season MVP. 1996, he made the All-Star game. 1996, he won the All-Star game MVP. 1996, he made the All-NBA first team. 1996, he made the All-NBA all-first defensive team. 1996, he led the league in scoring. That year? And let's go look at his numbers again that year. What did Jordan do in 1996? That season, he averaged 29.6, 0.5, 1.7 steals, 4.3 in assists, 5.9 in rebounds, 83 from the free throw line, 37% from the 3, and 48 points. I've given you 2. I'm not done yet because you asked for 1. I give you 2. Let's go to 1991. What did MJ do in 1991? In 1991, he won the championship. He won the Finals MVP. He won the regular season MVP. He made the All-Star game. He made the all-first NBA team. He made the all-first defensive team. He led the league in scoring that season. And just the season before, he led the league in steals. What did Jordan do in 1991? He scored 31 points no, that was in the playoffs, excuse me. In the regular season, he scored 30, got you 2 steals, 2.2 steals, 4 assists, 6.6 rebounds, 84%, 42%, 49.5%. I've given you 3 seasons, Mr. Nick Wright. And the last one, let's do 1992, since you said there's no season. So every season I've listed is by far better than what LeBron did. Much better. Let's go to, what's the last season we're going to do? Let's do 1992. What did Jordan do in 1992? Won the championship, won the Finals MVP, also won the regular season MVP. What else did he do? He made the All-Star game. What else? He made the all-first NBA team that year. He made the all-first defensive team that year. He also led the league in scoring that same year. And he put up gaudy numbers. So you said there's never been a season, and I just gave you 3. And in all of those seasons I just listed, Jordan played at least 80 games. At least 80 games. Now, let's take it a step further. Do you know how many times LeBron has scored at least 30 points a game in his career? In 21 years? I'll count the seasons for you. In 21 seasons, LeBron has averaged 30, 1, 2, 3 times. How many times has Jordan done it? Average at least 30 in his career. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Jordan holds a higher scoring average than Wilt Chamberlain. Do you hear what the hell I just said? You know, Wilt Chamberlain, the one that rewrites, Jordan's scoring average is higher than Wilt Chamberlain. It's an NBA record. And for the playoffs, it's also an NBA record. Let's look at how many times LeBron has averaged 30 in the playoffs. In the playoffs, he's done it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. How many times did Michael Jordan do it in the playoffs? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times. Let's keep going. Since y'all think this is close, if anybody listening to this feels like this is close, then I have no words for you. No words. So in all of these playoffs that LeBron has been in the 21 years, he's only averaged at least 36 times. Jordan in 15 seasons, including the Wizards, did it 11 times in 15 seasons. In 15 seasons. He's talking about what LeBron did in the finals and ever. Help me figure it out. In 1998, didn't Jordan win the NBA championship in Game 6 on the road when Scottie Pippen had a bad back and hit the game-winning shot to close out the series? Became the most iconic shot in NBA and one of the most iconic moments in sports history. Are we talking about that dude? Are we talking about that dude? But let's take it in another direction. Let's take it in the opposite direction. And for people watching the show that feel like, oh man, I go to school with this LeBron fan, he's really hard to argue against. He can bring up some funny points and blah, 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 blah. This is the easiest way to beat a LeBron James fan in arguing Jordan versus LeBron. By far the easiest. I give it to you here. You asked to name a season where Jordan did something like LeBron did. I just gave you 4. Give me the time when Jordan had a playoff run like LeBron did in 2011. Give me the time when Jordan had a mental collapse in the playoffs the way LeBron did. Let's all wait. You got 2011. We're waiting. What year was that? Give me the time. Give me the time Jordan got swept in the finals. LeBron has been swept in the finals, I believe, 3 times, 2 or 3 times. in the finals? Give it to me then. Where was it at? Give me the times. Give me all the times Jordan lost in the finals. Oh, that's right. He never did. Give me the stretch that LeBron went on with his team, went for 8 years, I believe, or for 6 or 8 years. His team never lost more than 2 games in a row. What was that time? Give me the time when LeBron three-peated like Jordan. Give me the time. How can you open up your ass to say that a player that's not ever even three-peated 1 time should be compared to a player that's three-peated 2 times? Give me all of the players that are all-stars that Michael Jordan played with, and let's give you the players that were all-stars at one point in their career with LeBron. I can give you the names quite easily. 3 players. All of Michael Jordan's all-star teammates, their total combined all-star appearances are 10. LeBron is over 100. You hear what the hell I just said? It's over 100. So give me the time when Jordan had all of these top 75 guys and he lost. Give me the time. Give me the year when Jordan came back to the Wizards and he had a player like Anthony Davis. Give me the time. We're waiting for the time. You asked us to give you the time, and I'm asking you to give us the time. Give me the time. When did that happen? When did that happen? This debate is not close. If you scrutinize it closely, it is not close at all. Close would be, oh man, these guys have comparable. It's not close. LeBron is not in Michael Jordan's level. He's not. LeBron is just playing for stats right now. I don't know what else he's doing. Nick Wright just told another bold-faced lie. Jordan never had a season. He did. I gave you 4. 4 seasons that he accomplished more than LeBron. 4 times. I just gave it to you. 4 times. But I ask you, give me the time when Jordan had a season like 2011. What was that time? When was the time when Jordan had a season like 2011 playing with two top 75 guys, goes into the playoffs and totally collapses? Oh, let's bring it up here. Let's bring it up here since we want to be petty. LeBron James, hold up, 2011 finals, hold up, 2011 final stats. So give me the time Michael Jordan scored 8 points in a finals game. Hello? When was that? Wasn't this a prime LeBron James? Give me the finals where when Michael Jordan averaged 17.8 points in the finals. Help me figure it out. When did that happen? When did that happen? Name the finals where Jordan only attempted 11 shots. Y'all are weak with this argument. This the dude y'all want to compare to Jordan? Y'all can't remove this from the history books. But LeBron fans do. They pick and choose. When you bring up the losing, you realize how much of a laugh it is to compare these 2 players. LeBron has lost at a historic level. If we're talking about losing. Chris Broussard brought up the point. LeBron's going on 22 years with 4 championships. On 22 years. Jordan won 6 championships in 13 seasons with the Bulls. LeBron is just running around the NBA putting up stats. Don't ever open up your mouth to say Jordan never had a season like LeBron. LeBron never had a season like Jordan. Never. These players are not close. And when you look at this information, how can you say it's close? Close based on what? Close based on what? I told Gilbert Arenas just this yesterday. I said I have LeBron, my top 5. He's ranked number 4. He laughed. He said, how can he be top 4, number 4? I said, because I got Kobe, I got Jordan, and I got Hakeem ahead of him. I said, none of those guys has lost at the rate that LeBron does. So why does he deserve to be ahead of Tim Duncan? Why? How the hell am I going to put him ahead of Kobe, Kareem, and Jordan when all of those guys won more, which is the objective of sports? How do we overlook all of that? playing in that garbage ass East, playing teams in the playoffs with a 41-41 record in round one. How am I going to put him up ahead against somebody in Kobe Bryant, who beat more 50-win teams in the playoffs than Magic Johnson in just 2 years that Magic Johnson did his entire career? How? Kobe played tougher teams. Way tougher teams than LeBron. Way tougher teams. To get to the playoffs, there were years when the 8th seed won 50 games. The 8th seed, not 41, not 38. Like they was doing in the garbage ass East. And you dudes is over there twerking. Oh man, look, he's really carrying. They're playing against garbage teams.